Hello, ma'am. Myself Shubham Pal, roll number 52, and my partner is Satish Gupta, roll number 62. And my aim is to create a servlet for a login page. If the username and passwords are correct, then it says message hello, else a message login failed. So this practical is about to create servlet in HTML. For login page, we will create HTML page which is login page. The data will forward it to servlet and then we'll verify the servlet data if the data is correct. It will say hello and username, else it will give login fail. We have going to use NetBeans. First we have to create login page. In that there will be two things. First is login and second password. One more thing, I need to submit the data, that is input type submit. So this is how we created the HTML form. We can right click on it and run it. First of all, Glassfish server will on and then it will deploy. So the deployment process is started. For login page we have to servlet. After that we have to take the data through HTML. For check we have to go on login check 1. For retrieving the data we have to call two parameter, request and response. Request which takes the data and response who gives the data. For requesting we have to use request get parameter. HTML understand mainly break tag, so break tag is very necessary. So now we come to know how to retrieve the data. The user enter his username and password in the field displayed by the JSP login page.jsp. When the user submit the servlet responsible for handling the request is called login servlet. The servlet is responsible for calling the appropriate method in the DAO so that it indirectly interact with the DB. It is also responsible for setting and updating data saved in the bean, which will be used later by the DAO. In our application, the login servlet creates a new instance of the user bean and fills it with the username and the password entered by the user. The DAO will use this bean later to compare between the user input and the DB data. The servlet calls the login method in the user DAO to start performing its task. The login method in the DAO is responsible for checking whether the data entered by the user exists in the DB or not. In addition, it has to update the beans data that will be used later by the servlet. In our application, the DAO uses the connection manager class to get the DB connection. Query the DB if the ask the DB to research for a user having certain username and passwords and checks. If the result set is empty, this means that the username and password were invalid. If the result set is not empty, this means that the username and password were valid. Update the user bean. In case of valid username and password, the DAO fills the bean with the rest of the user's information that will need to be displayed later by the JSP. In addition, it sets the valid attribute of the bean to true. Otherwise, the DAO set the valid attribute of the bean to false. Thank you.